Belzona 4151 Magma Resin now comes in cartridges. The cartridges comes in a box of 12 cartridges and 12 static mixers. The cartridges have the base component and the solidifier component pre-measured, and the static mixer is attached to the cartridge and actually mixes the 4151 resin as it's ejected from the gun. The way you load this is you unscrew the locking cap. There's a seal cap that's removed. The static mixer is placed on and it only goes in one way, and the locking cap is used to replace it. Once that's on tight, it loads into either gun. We have two different guns. One of them is a pneumatic operated gun. Pneumatic operated gun hooks up to an air supply down here, and this air supply can be regulated by this valve back here. You simply take the gun. Notice there's a small plunger and a large plunger. You put the cartridge in so that the corresponding plunger matches, hook it up to an air supply, and you're ready to use. And if you don't use all the resin out of the cartridge, you can simply, again, take it out of the cartridge, remove the static mixer, put the plug back in again. Be sure to get it in the same way it came out, and you can store it again for another application. The second cartridge gun we have is a hand-operated gun. Again, you place it into the gun. There's a small piston and a large piston, and be sure to put the small one with the small plunger. The release on is in the back. You release that, pull it, and you're back to loading position. There, load it into the gun, and pull the trigger, and again, that will mix the product just as the pneumatic gun will. For using Belzona 4151 injection cartridges, we have two styles of injection ports. One is called a footed port. The footed port has holes and allows you to glue this over the crack using a Belzona material such as a super metal, 1111, or super E metal, any other material that will seal the crack. It also is removable, so when you're done you can seal over the top of it. The other is what's called a non-footed port. If you notice, it's got a taper. It's made to go into metal or concrete, of course, but you have a half-inch hole. It's a friction fit. You put that into the half-inch hole and you use a fitting to secure it or seal it. Then the injection gun fits in there and seals, so you can inject through the injection port into the crack or between the base plate and the metal. The injection ports are capped with this red cap. The red caps go on to seal the injection port. They're a friction fit, so as you're injecting multiple areas and you don't want the resin to come out of this, it'll lock it back in again. They're removable, and they fit on with the friction fit again. And they go on either port, same red caps. Belzona 4151 resin cartridges are an ideal tool for two different applications: injecting damaged concrete. Rather than being just a sealing mechanism, it's a structural repair. In other words, it will bond two broken pieces of concrete together, and the bond is stronger than the cohesive strength of the concrete. The other issue is it's used as a filling material behind steel. So you have a backer plate or a pump base that has become hollow. You can use the 4151 Magma Resin, inject that resin between the metal and the concrete or the grout. You will fill up that space and provide a solid backing material for that metal plate or pump base. The alternatives often for repairing concrete is to pour what they call a coffin, which is usually 2 or 3 feet of concrete around a leaking tank. That ruins the foundation of the tank because of the added weight. It's a temporary measure, and a new tank has to be built before that one fails. Using the Belzona 4151 injectable resin, it's a sealed tank and it's a permanent solution rather than having to destroy or temporarily fix the old one. There are two kinds of injection ports that will be used with the Belzona crack stabilization process. First, we have what we call a footed injection port. This particular port has a hollow port with little foot, and you put these onto the crack and you seal in between the crack about 6 inches. If the caps that are used for those are the same caps that we use for the non-footed port, and they are universal for each port. Now, the way we do put these on, we take a pack of Super E-metal, or any other Belzona paste grade material that you choose to seal the crack. We're choosing Super E-metal because we're going to do the job quickly. The customer wants it done quickly. You can use this product. Mix the product thoroughly so there's no streaks. We apply the injection port to the end of the crack, making sure that the hole is directly centered over the crack. Hold it in place and use the Belzona paste grade material to stabilize or adhere the injection port over the crack. Then be sure that the foot is totally covered. There are little holes in the foot to be sure that it gets adhesion all the way to the bottom over the crack. We want to apply these injection ports approximately every 6 inches. So we'll apply another one about here, about 6 inches away from the first one. Another one 6 inches again. And then one at the end of the crack. Then use your paste grade Belzona material to seal along the cracks. This prevents the Belzona injection crack stabilization material from going into the hole and coming right back out next to it. And allow this product to cure. Okay. After the filler material seals between the cracks on the crack and stabilization system, you want to check for any pinholes that might be in this material. The simplest way to do it is to put caps on these injection ports, and then we're going to blow compressed air into one of the ports, and we use a commercially made product called Snoop, which is a mixture of soap and water. You can buy it at a plumbing supply house, or you can use a bottle like this, and you can mix water and soap to make a foamy solution. It'll show the bubbles. Don't put it in a pump spray because that'll actually make bubbles. You want to see if you can find the leaks ahead of time. Then we can remediate by patching those particular cracks up before we go ahead with the injection. Otherwise, we won't get the penetration into the crack itself. I'm going to demonstrate my job and see how well I did. So I'm going to take this rubber-tipped air gun, push it onto the injection port, blow some air, and just see if I have any leaks. And you can see right here, I've got a big leak right here. The air is bubbling out. So obviously I would have to fix these particular leaks before I'd have to do the injection. See any more leaks? Did I miss any? I got this right. Leave that just in case we have an issue. So the way this gun works is we start with this one particular injection port, start here until it comes out the next one. We would then cap this one and go on to this one and keep pushing the material through in a linear motion through the crack. So we start by injecting in this particular port. like it's doing right now. We then move it to this hole, and we take an injection cap and we plug this hole, this port, and now shoot the resin back in until it comes out this particular port, and continue on down till we're finished with our injection. The second injection port is used to inject the Belzona crack stabilization material between a metal plate and concrete. For example, a pump base is a very useful way of using that. We pre-drill the pump base with half-inch holes. Now, the half-inch holes, be sure that you're using a bit that will drill both metal and concrete. There are a few on the market. If you use a metal bit and hit the grout or the concrete, your bit will become immediately dull. After you have a half-inch hole drilled, this particular injection port is tapered and it has a friction fit. We use a 1/4 inch pipe nipple, 3 inches long. We put the injection port into the pipe nipple. We then use a hammer. We push it over the hole and pound this in. And that seats the injection port. As you can see, we have 3 holes for demonstration purposes. We would do this for all 3 holes. If you're doing a pump base where you have a hollow spot between the grout and the metal, you simply tap on the base. Where the base is solid, it'll sound solid. Where it's hollow, as this is, it'll sound hollow rather than solid. And some of them will actually sing like a bell. Take an outline or a magic marker or a stick and mark the hollow area. Drill your holes at the periphery of the hollow spot, and then insert your injection ports so you can fill up the hollow spot. The hollow spot may be this big, or it may be the entire length of the pump base. If that's the case, space them again every 6 inches so that you can inject progressively. We're now going to demonstrate how to inject the 4151 resin into this metal base plate between the base plate and the concrete. We've installed the injection ports. This particular mixing tube or static mixer has an insert that is made to match into the ends of these injection ports. We load the cartridge into the pneumatic gun. We pull the trigger. When we're using a new static mixer, we want to discharge the first 2 ounces of material as it will be unmixed. After that is discharged, we then place the static mixer into the first injection port and pull the trigger and inject until it comes out the nearest hole. When it comes out the next hole, we then cap this one and push it in the one that is coming out next. And we continue the process until we fill up the entire base plate. Just the difference in the sound compared to it's hollow. It's not hollow anymore. It's totally solid and locked down. We remove the expended cartridge by pushing the brass valve. The plungers recede into the gun and we discard the cartridge. We're going to use multiple cartridges. You can use this particular static mixer on the new cartridge, which will eliminate having to waste the first ounce if you're doing multiple cartridges on one job.